Victoria was Queen of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland from the 20th of June 1837 until her death. Known as the Victorian era, her reign of 63 years and 7 months was longer than that of any of her predecessors. It was a period of industrial, political, scientific, and military change within the United Kingdom, and was marked by a great expansion of the British Empire. In 1876, Parliament voted her the additional title of Empress of India. Victoria was the daughter of Prince Edward, Duke of Kent and Strathearn, the fourth son of King George III, and Princess Victoria of Saxe-Coburg-Saalfeld. After both the Duke and his father died in 1820, she was raised under close supervision by her mother and her controller, John Conroy. She inherited the throne aged 18 after her father's 3 elder brothers died without surviving legitimate issue. Though a constitutional monarch, privately, Victoria attempted to influence government policy and ministerial appointments. Publicly, she became a national icon who was identified with strict standards of personal morality. Victoria married her first cousin Prince Albert of Saxe-Coburg-Gotha in 1840. Their children married into royal and noble families across the continent, earning Victoria the sobriquet the Grandmother of Europe and spreading haemophilia and European royalty. After Albert's death in 1861, Victoria plunged into deep mourning and avoided public appearances. As a result of her seclusion, republicanism in the United Kingdom temporarily gained strength, but in the latter half of her reign, her popularity recovered. Her golden and diamond jubilees were times of public celebration. She died on the Isle of Wight in 1901. The last British monarch of the House of Hanover, she was succeeded by her son Edward VII of the House of Saxe-Coburg-Gotha. Victoria turned 18 on the 24th of May 1837, and a regency was avoided. Less than a month later, on the 20th of June 1837, William died at the age of 71, and Victoria became Queen of the United Kingdom. In her diary she wrote, "I was awoke at 6 o'clock by Mamma, who told me the Archbishop of Canterbury and Lord Canningham were here and wished to see me. I got out of bed and went into my sitting room, only in my dressing gown, and alone, and saw them. Lord Canningham then acquainted me that my poor uncle, the King, was no more, and had expired at 12 minutes past 2 this morning, and consequently that I am Queen." Official documents prepared on the first day of her reign described her as Alexandrina Victoria, but the first name was withdrawn at her own wish and not used again. Though Victoria was now Queen, as an unmarried young woman she was required by social convention to live with her mother. Despite their differences over the Kensington system and her mother's continued reliance on Conroy, her mother was consigned to a remote apartment in Buckingham Palace, and Victoria often refused to see her. When Victoria complained to Melbourne that her mother's proximity promised torment for many years, Melbourne sympathized but said it could be avoided by marriage, which Victoria called a shocking, sick alternative. 55. Victoria showed interest in Albert's education for the future role he would have to play as her husband, but she resisted attempts to rush her into wedlock. Victoria continued to praise Albert following his second visit in October 1839. Albert and Victoria felt mutual affection, and the Queen proposed to him on the 15th of October 1839, just 5 days after he had arrived at Windsor. They were married on the 10th of February 1840, in the Chapel Royal of St. James's Palace, London. Victoria was love-struck. She spent the evening after their wedding lying down with a headache, but wrote ecstatically in her diary, "I never spent such an evening. My dearest, dear Albert, his excessive love and affection gave me feelings of heavenly love and happiness I never could have hoped to have felt before. He clasped me in his arms, and we kissed each other again and again. His beauty, his sweetness and gentleness, really how can I ever be thankful enough to have such a husband? To be called by names of tenderness I have never yet heard used to me before, was bliss beyond belief. Oh, this was the happiest day of my life." Albert became an important political advisor as well as the Queen's companion, replacing Melbourne as the dominant influential figure in the first half of her life. Victoria's mother was evicted from the palace, to ingest a house in Belgrave Square. After the death of Victoria's aunt, Princess Augusta, in 1840, Victoria's mother was given both Clarence and Frogmore houses. Through Albert's mediation, relations between mother and daughter slowly improved. On the 2nd of March 1882, Roderick Maclean, a disgruntled poet apparently offended by Victoria's refusal to accept one of his poems, shot at the Queen as her carriage left Windsor railway station. 2 schoolboys from Eton College struck him with their umbrellas, until he was hustled away by a policeman. Victoria was outraged when he was found not guilty by reason of insanity, but was so pleased by the many expressions of loyalty after the attack that she said it was worth being shot at, to see how much one is loved. On the 17th of March 1883, Victoria fell down some stairs at Windsor, which left her lame until July. She never fully recovered and was plagued with rheumatism thereafter. John Brown died 10 days after her accident, and to the consternation of her private secretary, Sir Henry Ponsonby, Victoria began work on a eulogistic biography of Brown. Ponsonby and Randall Davidson, Dean of Windsor, who had both seen early drafts, advised Victoria against publication, on the grounds that it would stoke the rumors of a love affair. The manuscript was destroyed. In early 1884, Victoria did publish more leaves from A Journal of a Life in the Highlands, a sequel to her earlier book, which she dedicated to her devoted personal attendant and faithful friend John Brown. On the day after the first anniversary of Brown's death, Victoria was informed by telegram that her youngest son, Leopold, had died in Caen. "He was the dearest of my dear sons," she lamented. The following month, Victoria's youngest child, Beatrice, met and fell in love with Prince Henry of Battenberg at the wedding of Victoria's granddaughter Princess Victoria of Hesse, and by Rhine to Henry's brother Prince Louis of Battenberg. Beatrice and Henry planned to marry, but Victoria opposed the match at first, wishing to keep Beatrice at home to act as her companion. After a year, she was won around to the marriage by their promise to remain living without attending her. In July 1900, Victoria's second son Alfred, of fire, died. "Oh, God, my poor darling, if I are gone too," she wrote in her journal. "It is a horrible year, nothing but sadness and horrors of one kind and another." Following a custom she maintained throughout her widowhood, Victoria spent the Christmas of 1900 at Osborne House on the Isle of Wight. Rheumatism in her legs had rendered her lame, and her eyesight was clouded by cataracts. Through early January, she felt weak and unwell, and by mid-January she was drowsy, dazed, and confused. She died on Tuesday, the 22nd of January 1901, at 6:30 in the evening, at the age of 81. Her son and successor, King Edward, and her eldest grandson, Emperor Wilhelm II, were at her deathbed. Her favorite pet Pomeranian, Tury, was laid upon her deathbed as a last request.